with the first item, which is roll call.
Thank you. So, Chair Rockos,
Present.
Committee Member Gardner,
Here.
Committee Member Joseph, Committee Member Larson, potentially may be late
In
and
mute.
or not showing up, so
Mhm.
we shall see, but we do have our quorum. And we have Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh,
I'd
okay,
like to
so
take this opportunity through the chair to introduce our new staff member here, Nestor Delgado. He joined us several months back in replacement of Dora Ganetso, so prior staff contact. So we're excited to have Nestor on board to help support the town's sustainability efforts.
welcome, Nestor.
Welcome.
Thanks.
Do you want to say anything about yourself?
Sure. So I got here through born and raised in Puerto Rico. Got my bachelor's degree at Penn State.
In
And
what?
Bachelor's degree, sorry, in Penn
In
State.
what?
In geography.
Job.
Geography. Focus on human geography, but a bit of GIS as well. After that, went back home for a bit, but pretty much straight from that went to master's graduate school. Got my master's in community and regional planning at the University of Oregon. Then did a bit of work down in Santa Cruz as a transportation planning technician. I was there for about a year and a half, a bit more. And after that, I ended up here. So started August 15th, thereabouts. And yeah, decided to be here.
We're excited to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, so you have all the qualifications.
Yeah.
Passed the eye
You,
test.
you can also map on a GIS, using GIS, many of the new events that are happening in the town. Okay, well, shall we move to the next item, which is public comments?
No public.
Any public comments?
No.
No public comments, which takes us to the next item, which is the committee and staff member comments. And we have 2017 Earth Day event recap on the agenda. And are there any comments? We have a printout of the memo,
So we had
summary of the event. Please.
So we initially had our next scheduled EPC meeting after the Earth Day event, obviously much closer than we were meeting now. So I know it's quite a distance of time since the event happened, but I still thought it was important to just conclude the event, summarizing at least the feedback that we as staff received regarding the event. And I won't duplicate what's already written in the memo. But you'll see that I feel that this item is somewhat related to another item that we have scheduled later on in our discussion, related to discussion for ideas of any other and or revised / additional event that the EPC may want to consider being a part of for the upcoming 2018 year. We know how much time and effort you spent with your prior Earth Day events, and now we're approaching the end of calendar year, so thought it would be important to get that conversation started sooner than later.
Great. So, through the chair, if I could just make a comment. I was there. You were there at the Earth Day event, right?
Mhm.
And
Janet.
Janet was there, and I think one of the things that the community really liked, and this isn't just for the Earth Day event, but it has been for other events that have been held in that little Station Lane area in the town center instead of at the park, which kind of almost is really too big. You know, you kind of get spread out and too big, and it was much more intimate. It was much smaller than our previous Earth Day events. So good news, bad news about that there was no high school challenge or anything, but I think that had to do a lot with timing. So if we want to do any kind of student input and in the future in challenge, we need to kind of really think about their timing and everything. But it was very well received. It seemed very well received. It very low key, but for what it was and the amount of money we had to spend, I think that it was respectable. It wasn't splashy over the top, but having it in this town center area, I think just made it a homier feeling. Next year, hopefully, in the spring, we will be breaking ground for the new town center in this area. So we will have to look at other places, like the park,
Mm.
which I just said is too big and everything, but maybe in an area of the park where it's a little bit maybe more intimate or something.
Mhm.
So,
Go back to the original location.
do you have any comments on that?
I thought like they're two very different events in my mind.
Yes.
Since you aren't able to attend the first one and the second one, they're two like
I feel
entirely-
like I
yeah.
saw it because I saw
Yeah.
all the videos and we gave out the awards, and that was
Yeah.
a big part
So
of it.
the student challenge was definitely a highlight, and
Yeah.
all the other little fairs and the booths, people enjoyed them, but I think it's hard to wrangle that many people. And Valerie called it, I think, every favor she had
Yeah.
to get people to come. So I can understand the thing of the park. We could make a smaller part of the park. I don't know if this is the biggest part though of the EPC. I think the student challenge is probably more aligned with our goals than the Earth Day per se. I think getting vendors out like the water and like the planting and they were well received, but some of the other things are just they're fun. They're
Yeah.
just light. And the library did a great job of handling that part. So if we had a partnership with the library, I wouldn't be opposed to doing something of that again, but I think the student challenge was really probably more aligned with our goals.
Yeah, I would agree to that.
Okay, any other suggestions or comments on the Earth event? So,
Nothing more for staff to add.
yeah, I think, next year timing is the key
Yeah, the time was
parameter should
hard.
be addressed. Yeah, that's all. So,
Can I say something?
I'm just concerned that the focus on timing and venue and vendors is taking away from this committee's opportunity and potentially responsibility to do something meaningful
mm,
that actually has an impact for our community and for the climate. And I'm a little bit disappointed that the focus has been on having fun events that really don't strike anyone as having an impact for the climate. So that's my comment. I'd like to see us veer back in the direction of not just trying to have fun events. Fun actually has a role, but it should be accompanied by a little medicine. And I don't think there was any medicine really on offer in the last event. That's my comment.
okay.
So I
Yeah.
just would maybe tee off of that a little bit, Valerie, is that in one sense, it's always seemed to me to be consciousness raising and awareness and more education, because the impact that we to truly impact climate change from our small town, we don't we can't turn the dial and have PG&E reduction. Just like I look at the analysis I have is like CBRE, which is a commercial real estate operating company. They manage a gazillion million square feet, and they've got a guy that we've known for a long time, and he's now their sustainability manager. And he turns one switch and says, we're going to do this throughout all those properties, and there's a huge impact. And I know that we have big houses and we want to, do something. We're going to talk about that later, but I think it's more consciousness raising, and then getting the kids, involved in that education. And I've always kind of seen that if you mix education and fun and education, then it's more fun to learn. So I don't think that I don't know what kind of medicine you're referring to that we need to inject into it. So we can talk about that.
Yes, we should discuss that, and I believe that the Earth Day event is more tailored around younger people, and if young people, through fun can learn a little bit more, although they are at that time of the year already exposed to all these other events, including their school, then they will continue being aware, and the younger, the earlier they start, the better. But the second part is, let's get serious, and let's through some serious events, and institutions also do our part and be more influential. We might probably do a better job. So I think that's Valerie's point, if I can make my own interpretation. So we did a very good job at attracting young minds, and that's a good thing. So let's see what we can do.
Were there students who showed up to the event?
I wasn't.
They didn't
did
show
not
up to the
attend.
There were no students at the event?
No, there were students, but not students with the student challenge. We didn't have a student challenge.
I mean, there were kids. There were
Yeah.
lots of kids.
Yeah, that was
There were
probably the
lots of
majority.
kids, neighbors, lots of kids.
Mm.
Yeah,
Majority was children, but they're
yeah.
guardians.
So we have a.
Okay, can we move to the regular agenda then? If there are no other comments on the 2017 Earth Day event? Okay, so do you have a copy of the regular agenda?
Anybody need a copy of the agenda?
No, I've got mine.
So the first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from April 2017. And do you have a copy of the 2017 minutes with you? And well, the recommendation is to approve the minutes. And do we have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I so move.
Okay, well, let's
I'll
move.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's approved. And I move to, let's move to the next. Motion is carried, and move to the next item. And the next item is the discussion how to implement priorities 1 through 3 of approved climate action plan greenhouse gas reduction measures, and that is a packet that was sent to us through an email. Do you have your own copy, or Nestor asked if he needed to provide hard copies, and we should discuss, and I would like to invite Valerie as one of the experts in the field to maybe take the lead on this, or to make her own comments and take the lead on this discussion. No?
I will demur back to you, because I've led programs for energy efficiency, and I'm ready for somebody else to take the lead.
As far as, let's see, there were a couple of
Stephanie kind
highlights.
of tee it up for
Yeah.
us.
Stephanie, do you?
Yeah.
So
She's got
without
the staff
going through
report.
verbatim what's already also detailed in the memorandum, just taking a step back, and what we're hoping as staff to be able to have the EPC discuss and provide direction to us on today. All of your prior meetings, taking out the component of any discussion related to the Earth Day event for 2017, were primarily focused on the town's climate action plan. You helped develop it, you helped get it adopted, and now it's time to help please implement the plan.
Mhm.
So you provided recommendations to the council that were adopted on, we've got this list of greenhouse gas reduction measures, 24 to be exact. How do we want to prioritize it? We came up with a priority list, the council adopted that. So what we as staff has come back to you today, Brett, has taken those top 3 prioritized measures. We've put forward some just suggestions on implementation approaches, on how are we actually gonna get these measures working here within the town. Some efforts we've already done, undertaken, most of them kind of piggyback on Councilmember Lewis's comment on education and community outreach component of it all. I should probably take another step back and summarize what those top 3 measures are that we've brought forward to you today. I started with 3. We can certainly dive into more as the meeting time may allow, but wanted to just keep it cohesive and allow for time later on in the agenda if you'd like to discuss an event. So with that, your top 3 prioritized measures were in order of priority: residential energy, green building, and community choice aggregation. So we can go into discussion item by item if you'd like. As it relates to residential energy, I just want to pause for a moment and introduce a member here in our public. This is James Tulea. Did I pronounce it correctly?
Yes, thanks.
Yes, and so he is from a company called Home Energy Analytics, and they provide a free program to all community residents within San Mateo County. And I'll probably let James give a little overview of what his program does. But we have publicized the availability of this free program to our community via the town's website, via the town's Nextdoor, Facebook, and other social media outreach efforts. We'll be posting an article about their program in the upcoming hard copy Athertonian. And I think the last time we spoke to date, we had 3 residences who have actually signed up and have implemented the program and have begun their energy reduction savings. But I'm sure maybe there's been some updates since that time. So we can continue the discussion on, again, implementation approaches on how best to implement the town's climate action gas reduction measure as it relates to residential energy. And then if you'd like, I'm sure James has a few words that he can share specific about his program, or we could let James speak and then jump into discussion.
Who wants to go first?
Yes, I'd be happy
Do-
to just
Why don't you
Yeah.
explain?
give you a little
Yeah,
overview.
Why
that's
don't you
great.
just explain?
So I'm James Tulea, the Community Programs Director for Home Intel. The Home Intel program is run by Home Energy Analytics. And it's paid for through the energy efficiency program funds that come on everybody's PG&E bill. So it's actually part of what is the whole set of programs of energy efficiency that PG&E offers to all residents across their territory. I used to work at PG&E in their energy efficiency department. Now I'm working for an implementer. I live down in Sunnyvale. And so what Home Energy Analytics, the Home Intel program, does is it analyzes people's gas and electric smart meter data, so people's actual data from the use of energy in their home, gas and electric, so it's comprehensive, and figures out what energy categories that the energy use is in, and helps figure out where there might be waste and where are the priorities. So it fundamentally serves as an energy management technology for residents, and it's broadly applicable across renters, owners, whoever has a PG&E bill. The only limitation is if someone has solar, then the meter data isn't accurate. It's net, that's net data, so we can't analyze that well enough to know what's happening inside the house. So besides the solar customers, as long as someone's been in their home for at least 12 months, then we get a whole year of data and help them start to understand what's happening in their home, from things that are in their home, like the heating and cooling systems, all their stuff, all the plug load things that are plugged in, the refrigerators, appliances, and their behavior. And that's where all the energy use comes from. So it's a tool that we never had before at PG&E, so that's why I joined Home Energy Analytics, because it's a really exciting thing that can be very useful for people. Atherton actually used to use this tool. There was a city-by-city program that was part of something that the California Energy Commission did a few years ago. So this has been around for 8 or 9 years, and so we're back around to where, in this case, the town isn't even doesn't have to pay for it because it's already being paid for as part of the overall PG&E program. But I'll stop there. But it's
So is it similar to the old program where you would create an account and then you can see your smart meter online? Is that?
Yeah, it is. The same
Exactly.
program as before, just under the Home Intel name. It's the same tool, but with a few more years of experience at tuning the algorithms behind it.
So is it just reading your data, or is it making recommendations on how to change your data?
It reads the data, so it takes raw data and makes information out of it. So the easiest way is to try it yourself, and you can see. But it will break down the data, or disaggregate the data into the types of use, like things that are always on. That's vampire loads and maybe pool pumps that are on all the time, hot water recirculation pumps. Things that are variable, so things that come on different times of day, like a computer or printer or a game console. Things that are recurring is another category, so things that come on regularly, either through timers or very regular behavior. And so it breaks down the smart meter data in gas and electric into these 5 categories, where then that's enough for a resident to say, oh, well that's, so my biggest uses are in these 2 categories of always on and variable. And so then we help them dig into the details. So one thing that's different than the earlier program is we now provide energy coaches, and I'm one of the coaches, so I will help those that are sort of on the back end support, so the real people behind helping to guide people through their data and taking the steps. And it does generate specific recommendations and puts dollar amounts, estimated dollar amounts based on how much they're spending in these categories. So it's more real to people and what they need to do, and it's not modeled like some other tools try to do. Even another PG&E tool, Home Energy Checkup, is a model.
It's an algorithm.
Yeah. This is an algorithm that's analyzing the actual data in someone's house. So that's where it's a better, more accurate tool.
So you're saying there are 3 three houses?
Yeah, there were 3
that
as of a
already-
few weeks ago. I admit I didn't take a quick look to see who else, but I expect that from the newsletter that's about to go out that we'll get some more signups. I've talked with Councilmember DeGolia about it because I'm involved with the PCE efforts as well. So he's aware of it and had favorable things to say from the previous program. So he was excited that we're bringing it back. I will look up and see and provide to the team here the updated versions, and we'll do that on a regular basis, monthly or quarterly, whatever. We can look up by city and towns and keep everybody updated on the progress. We can even do a special report just for the town of Atherton to say, here's how many people have signed up, and here are the energy savings aggregated. Energy savings, gas savings, electric savings, however you want to break it up. We do that regularly for other towns and cities.
Is this whole communication by email, or do you also meet with people who own
So
those homes?
we have a range of ways we communicate. So I was just doing, before I came in, an initial phone call. I did an email, and then I followed up with a phone call to walk a resident through. This one's at one of the Stanford doctors. He lives at Stanford. And walking him through his results of the analysis, and then help to guide them on where the priorities are. And then, if necessary, I'll make a home visit, or another coach will make a home visit and help identify if there's something that just can't figure out from email or phone. We'll do that as well.
To the chair, ask you a question. You answered my question that I had written down here about this, that do we have statistics from the service as to how many Atherton residents are actually using it or have signed up for it? And if so, how large is the house? How new? How old? Things like that. Do you have those kinds of statistics?
Well, there's a certain amount of aggregation that's required to maintain customer privacy, and so to the degree that we can provide as specific data as possible, but still at an aggregated level, we can share that data. We can very likely give a range of, separate here's the age of homes and what we're seeing. So we'll explore various options on what you might want to see in that. But we know how old the houses are, how big the homes are, the energy use. So there's a lot of data there to work with, both for the customer and for us, and for all of us to understand what's happening.
It'd really be curious to me, I think, to know who is trying to sign up for this service to save energy, because my impression with many of the large homes that use an inordinate amount of energy, that A, they're not interested in saving any money, B, they may feel that it's just too big to, reducing any energy would not even put a drop in the bucket, kind of a thing. It's just too big of a task, or to try to go through these programs, or it just doesn't apply to them, kind of a thing. So it would be really interesting to know who's signing up.
Well,
Are you thinking of it as
if
the
you
market?
wouldn't have that data, you'd at least have the address in which we as staff could help supplement the type of information that we're looking for in terms of home size, perhaps when it was originally constructed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not gonna have the demographic information on the household, but we would have the physical information on the
Yeah,
structure. That helped.
We have how old's the home,
Okay.
the size, the lot size, and the number of people in the home. And
Well,
a lot
that's-
of information
yeah,
about all
I mean, I
the
think
devices
that-
in the home
But
too.
that's not proprietary. You have to, is
Well,
it
so
private?
to the, it all boils down to what, how much we have to do, or to what level we have to protect the people's private
Sure,
information.
sure.
And then, but to the extent we can share, we will share as much as we can until we hit that point of,
Yeah.
and we'll try to find other ways to answer the questions.
Right.
But we have to be very careful, otherwise we stop getting data from PG&E. And,
Yeah.
and then we can't help anybody.
But it would be great
yeah.
to know before and after, and
Yeah.
and the size, and like this
Well,
11,000,
Yeah.
11,000
We-
square foot house.
We track from
Just
the
space.
From the time they
Links.
sign up and their previous 12 months, we
Uh-huh.
have all the data from there to see as they go along how much they're saving. And people will get automatic monthly emails on their progress. But your point is correct, that not everybody cares about the money. There may be other motivators, so there's different messages for different people, and at different times we'll say, you want to save energy, or do you want to save money? You want to reduce greenhouse gases? So
Right.
whatever might work. And then there are some that nothing will work, right? We try to do as much as we can to help provide the information
Yeah.
to the homeowners or the renters to understand what's happening in the amount of energy, the type of energy they're using, what they can do about it, and the dollar amount that's associated with it. I don't think we regularly talk about the GHGs associated with, but we can do those conversions easy.
All the
Oh, that's
while
nice.
maintaining the quality of life.
Yeah.
That's right. A lot of the stuff, that some of the biggest things are reducing plug loads through uses of power strips and smart strips, and unplugging things or changing the timing, or adding a timer, that are really simple, easy fixes. So it's not asking people to do a lot. And it's actually a great thing if there are teenagers in the home. Give them something to do and they get a cut of the savings. So there's a lot of interesting things that people can do. And this, from my experience of working for 7.5 years at PG&E, and I used to be the plug load program manager there, there isn't another way to get at what we call in the industry the long tail of plug loads. In a typical home here, there's probably 100 different things plugged in into a house.
Yeah.
And you can't do a traditional rebate program on all the little devices. It's just not cost effective, too much administration. This is just looking at the meter data before and after, and analyzing the meter data to figure out what's happening. This is one of the rare cost-effective residential energy efficiency programs that exists.
So it's more than just reporting is my basic question. So it reports, and then you will look over the data, then in theory, then there's additional steps, which could be email, a phone call, and then I'm guessing the final frontier is a home visit.
Home visit if necessary.
Okay.
We'll
I just want to
look
make sure
and
I'm
they will
trying to
look.
understand.
That's right. So there's a level of, we don't want to invest more than we need to, because these are, we're all paying the bill because it's the little bit of public purpose program funds that are paying for this that's overseen by the CPUC.
So if this is not mandatory, what are the other incentives that we can share with the citizens?
Well, one of the powerful things from a city
motivate
is to
them.
just recommend and say, what they're already doing is to get the word out and to say, we recommend or we suggest that you take advantage of this program. That goes a long way to get
Penetrating
another
our
credible
residents'
source of.
consciousness
It's pretty hard.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
And once you penetrate it, and then you go, oh.
Do you have like any testimonials you've used in other cities? Like, oh, I saved, let's say $3,000.
Yeah, we have some case study and examples.
It's because we'll have large
Sure.
homes, so you might
Oh, yeah.
have those.
Yeah, we do. Many of the previous city or town by town programs that they did before this was authorized, this type of program was authorized by the CPUC, were all in communities like Atherton, Portola Valley, Woodside. So the history of this program and the past experience of this program is very much, in Atherton and similar places. So we do have case studies and information we can share and quotes and testimonials.
And could that go in maybe to the Athertonian, like as a little marketing piece, instead of it just being completely factual some?
Well,
We can create the program, we actually
the
have one already.
newsletter has a quote from
Does,
someone from Stanford. Was a nice thing, talked about, here's what we did, and we didn't have to change anything about our normal life. That's a key.
I think
Yeah.
that's the biggest
Yeah.
thing. People
Message.
don't want to spend too much time because everybody's cognitive load is so high that another email and another item on their busy daily agenda might be just overwhelming. But if you come up with these statements where it actually says it is going to make your life easier if
And
you
less
invest.
expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
apparently some people
Yeah,
don't
it-
even
yeah.
Right. Of
care
course.
much about saving
And
traditional,
the, climate
money.
and environment. Unfortunately, some of our residents don't care about that either, but we do. That's why we're here.
Okay, so that's on priority number 1.
So how do you sign up? Go to your website, sign up? No?
Yeah,
He has, within the website.
Yeah, it's on
that's
the-
provided, it's pretty easy, I kind of ran through it like in a mock trial before we sent it out publicly. And it's
You
pretty,
did.
user friendly.
so the newsletter item is coming out in the Athertonian. It's got a couple of links there.
And what if you're not using PG&E and you're using the aggregate, the choice?
Clean.
Community
PC.
choice.
Yeah,
Yes.
PC.
Everybody's still using PG&E unless you're in a municipal utility like Palo Alto or Santa Clara. The distribution side of the bill is still PG&E, and it's the generation side is Peninsula Clean Energy, CCE. All these energy efficiency programs are paid for on the PG&E side of the bill, and PG&E still does these programs in most places. In other CCE territories, community choice energy territories, Marin County has chosen to do some of these types of programs to administer themselves. And so in the Marin County and MCE territory, their community choice, they get some of these funds, and PG&E does some programs, and that community choice energy agency does some others. But right now, Peninsula Clean Energy and Silicon Valley Clean Energy in this area, they rely on PG&E to continue to run these programs.
Okay.
Okay. On the priority number 2, Stephanie, do you have any?
Sure, unless where home intel certainly seems to be one of the easiest and relatively most robust that we've been able to document in terms of actual town ability to hit that greenhouse gas reduction measure of residential energy. But we did have a series of some other suggestions. I don't know if you want to discuss any of them, or if there were others that any of the committee members, may know of that is not inclusive on our list, that we can, as staff, go out, have the discussion with them.
So, talk about the energy and water savings toolkit. It seemed like at one point the EPC had a toolkit that we were trying to get out. This was years ago before we had a pause in our efforts. So is this something, how does this work? The energy and water savings toolkits, the libraries in San Mateo County, do we know how many have been checked out in our library, or for Atherton residents, do we have a sense of, I mean, how effective is this?
Yeah, I don't have
Yeah.
any of the quantitative data on how it's being implemented, but we can certainly look into it and figure out if it's being used. Well, if we can get those answers, what's the effectiveness of it? How many folks have been used it? I mean, what's the average over the last few years?
Yeah.
We can follow up with the library on that, see if it's worthwhile.
I don't know, I personally not sure that so many residents would be doing this necessarily.
But some of it's like you don't even know that it's there.
Right, maybe, yeah.
You could put
I
that
know
in,
that
like a little
Valerie,
sidebar.
we had a whole thing planned out where we were gonna go door to door with people,
Mhm.
you know. Right, Valerie? Remember that? With kids, go door to door and
We
about.
had the buckets of all the stuff that we
Right.
put at the library, and we've done that already, and there wasn't much interest.
Yeah, that's my sense.
It's been there, done that.
But I think that in, like maybe in the San Carlos area or, you know, other areas of San Mateo County, this may be more effective. But I'm not so sure about the Atherton area. So,
Well, I'll follow
but
up
this is just information, right?
This is just information, and so that's also perhaps something that the committee may wish to discuss. So of all of these, the series of opportunities or programs that are available, that maybe some aren't necessarily as applicable to Atherton, and we can clean that up, and maybe the new ones will come up tomorrow, and we'll add this in.
Okay.
Right now, our primary course of disseminating all this information and educating the public is via our town website, via other media type efforts. If there are other ideas that the committee have to try and create a more robust education program, then simply adding it to the website and creating, we're trying to get a little better in creating nicer graphics and more weighty substantive text in our written publications for the Athertonian. One suggestion that we had put in there, if there was interest, was to discuss perhaps creating some kind of recognition or awards program, whether that relates just to residential energy as we're discussing now, or later with voluntary implementation of enhanced green building for new construction, that kind of thing, can certainly be an item that we can discuss and work with you on implementing through the town as stuff.
So a quick question about, now that the quote-unquote drought is over, sort of, because I know that our residents really, really stepped up to reduce water usage during the height of the drought. I just wonder if a refresher coming for the coming summer to encourage residents to take advantage of the free sprinkler nozzles or the turf replacement rebate or whatever, you know, by doing, I don't know if we could do some kind of a comprehensive water like idea reduction and savings mailer again, and to try to remind people that we really aren't completely out of the drought. I mean, even though it seems to be raining and everything, we need to conserve water wherever we can.
That sounds like a good idea, the mailer. The other thing is, I think most residents also write a check to have a gardener do it. And I will speak for at least my neighborhood. Most of the gardeners do not only speak English, but a lot of them speak Spanish. So it would be helpful to have this card where you could hand it off to your gardener, and this is where you pick it up, and this is where you get it, and here's the address. And talk to so-and-so.
Good
That would
idea.
make a
So-
huge difference.
Yeah.
Started from the base,
Like a
from
little-
the bottom
uh-huh.
rather
Yeah.
than from the
Yeah.
top.
Yeah.
Because this is all policy, this is all,
Yeah.
you know, doing it from the top, but if we go from the base, from
And
the
if we
bottom
get other,
up.
and if you know about the program, then you're like, I have 5 other houses, and there you go.
There you go. Yeah, the gardener, you mean?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I'm just saying,
Right,
like, it's a
right.
completely different way to look at the
Yeah.
problem than just, I think we're not always as active as citizens of 7,000 people, but potentially people who come into our homes, whether they be housekeepers or gardeners or nannies or whatever,
Yeah.
sometimes could be the first line of
So they
defense.
have business licenses, and we have their addresses these
Yeah.
service people, they
For the most part.
yes, I know.
For the most part.
But, you know, but that would be,
It
not
would be
only.
probably the better way to reach out in this particular case.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
to work with the
Do
base.
both.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of maybe kind of compiling a little marketing piece, because there's one,
You
two,
could do
three,
water and
four,
pesticides.
5, 6, yeah, the
And
flows
have
to
it
the bay,
bilingual.
you know, stuff, and kind of combine that into one. And I bet Cal Water also has something. I'm sure they're marketing, doing the same stuff as, I don't want to recreate the wheel, but if it came from us instead of Cal Water, maybe it would have more of a interest, you know.
Maybe.
So it sounds like I'm hearing some interest in
That's just my idea, but.
Yeah. No,
yeah.
I could, I think
potentially
it's a good.
compiling marketing pieces that are more tailored and comprehensive to, well, both seasonally,
Yeah.
as well as applicability. So your water savings in one, you've got energy reduction in something else, and beyond just disseminating that information through our digital portals, but an actual hard copy
Application.
that also takes into consideration having it in bilingual form.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would be
Yeah.
really helpful.
Okay, so that's certainly something that we can take that stab at and start a base, or if anybody wanted to take that on too, that's certainly acceptable. We're happy to take the first stab and then bring it back to you.
Or maybe we could, maybe meet with you, when you have maybe a little ad hoc committee or something, just to,
Absolutely.
you know, to kind of.
Sure.
Because when it comes to these things, you really have to start from the base, because you established all the websites and all the policies and all the plans. Now it's a matter of how you're going to implement it, and the implementations often starts now from the from the base. So
Yeah.
you're building it bottom up.
Yes.
Once you design everything from the top,
Yeah.
on the top.
And, you know, I don't have any starry-eyed expectations that we'll have a 10% return.
But if we did, it would be great.
Yeah, right, yeah. 1 or 2%.
You never know.
It's hard to penetrate consciousness.
Oh, okay. Would you like to discuss the other measures of the top from the top
Green
three?
buildings.
Yeah, on green buildings.
So that second prioritized approach had to do with voluntary implementation for green
No
building
mandates.
ordinance. So
No mandates.
no mandates. So when somebody comes in with their application to demolish the 5,000 square foot house and construct the new 11,000 square foot house, what can we do to help encourage them to go beyond what the minimum applicable uniform building code requirement calls for with their type of construction as it relates to sustainable and green practices?
But this again, I think, is a base thing, because when I did my home, I didn't do any of these things. I never saw the planning commission. I just went to an architect. The architect drew things. I made my suggestions. They drew it. Then the builder takes it over there. So there's like a big chunk that's sort of missing. Like if you already invested in having a green building, you'll do the green building as much as you can. But if you don't even know, you don't know that you don't know, it's sort of hard by this point. So I would just open the floor to like,
Yeah.
what could we do to
This
like
is
maybe
this is the deeper problem and the bigger problem that actually all construction businesses are facing, because by the time you approve your plan, it's too late. The whole idea of sustainability is to work with contractors way ahead of time
It's really
and
the architects.
diffuse and infuse sustainability metrics and measures into your design plan.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. We are not there yet. And the whole problem comes from not infusing these sustainability measures into your architectural plan, but only after the fact. And this is, as I said, a problem across all different construction fields. if is there anything that if you have to approve your plan and you know go across the street, where are we? Okay,
Yes.
pyramids.
That's
Behind
the
Oh, behind, yeah. That you can say, well, but this is the maybe I know of these software like Sophie or some other that actually create through the life cycle analysis perspective the amount of carbon that your construction of your remodeling and so forth will produce. And a town can actually calculate for you, given some average measures, what and how much your remodeling or building will cost the environment in terms of, you know, carbon emissions or through the life cycle analysis.
Well, that's a
Do
whole
we-
different angle.
I
Instead of
know.
the,
Yeah.
the
It's-
infrastructure of the house being built to green sustainability. Now
That's
we're
probably
talking
a more
about,
practical one.
yeah,
No, because it's like you could have an analysis.
yeah.
Like, oh, if I do this, this is the trade-off. But you don't even know. You just don't know that until like you're at the end of your process. You've
Right.
tried to make all these good decisions, recycling, reusing as much as possible many times, and they're also quite challenging. Like if you go to the town, like, how do I recycle my old cabinets? Ask that question. You end up making 1,000 phone calls. Your builder will give you a little bit, and you have to shake down a designer. It's a huge network of people. But I like the idea of the software that could at least say, here's the benefit of this one, and here's the benefit of this one. I have no idea how much the software costs. I'm gonna guess it's more than $5,000.
You know, I can look into that through my department, civil
Do
engineering.
you mind repeating the name?
I think it's called SOFI, Sophie, and it stands for something on life cycle analysis.
Yeah, because if before you had your permits all signed off and the
Yeah.
person did you know if you swapped these things, I bet a lot of people would. But when you are signed off and done, it's like, let's just,
Mm.
The other thing with it's somewhat unique in Atherton to other jurisdictions is that there's not the requirement to have the architectural review prior to
Right.
the development of the construction drawings, the detailed constructional, the civil, et cetera. That all, for the most part,
Yeah.
comes in simultaneously. So it's just another thing to think about, because if you have that separate architectural, you still have a little bit of time to work through those finite details in the actual construction methodology.
Yeah.
Because you've just got your block plan, right? You meet setbacks, your design, your windows, et cetera. So
you
Yeah.
build in the box.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
this is a residential building.
Really?
We-
'Cause I
we are not
How many
remember
green
we were
buildings
doing-
are there?
I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I certainly could get the answer for you though.
You don't have any idea how many
I
people have
don't. No, I would not have that answer. I'd need to confirm.
What
with
was the
building
question?
official.
How many green
How many
buildings
green
are there?
buildings are
Homes have been
homes?
built.
Well, I wonder what you mean by green,
I
like
think different
Diego
LE
Hostad's? I mean,
different
you know,
certifications.
totally.
Yeah, there's not that many that come through, and we can get that answer probably pretty easily from the
I remember
building
when
official.
Because
back in.
there's a lot of interest. I mean, listening to your point about how it's too late almost to implement green building features at this point at which people are submitting plans, but there's a lot of interest by residents to see other people's homes and open houses that have features that are interesting, maybe combined with a talk from, you know, Atherton might not have rules requiring green building, but we could certainly
Yeah.
showcase architects who do green building and know how to do it and know the advantages of you pay a little more, but then you save on energy, heating, cooling, electricity, whatever else down the road. So maybe we can showcase some of the more beautiful green buildings and let those architects who know how to do that speak, so that people are not necessarily saying, I oppose this regulation, I want to do it my way, but they're saying, oh, I love what this guy does, let me talk to him about what I'm doing. And then those architects bring the green building discipline and principles with them. So
That'd be very cool, Valerie, to put that together.
that would be a good way to
Very cool.
circumvent the timing where you're trying to educate people too late, as opposed to inspire them to do the right thing from the very beginning.
And I think that's
That's a
the
really
right
good
word,
idea.
because sometimes incentives like saving money for the sake of saving money is not the right
Yeah.
incentive, but
Do what the Joneses
inspiration
do.
and
Keep up with the Joneses.
influence and prestige for the sake of doing something
Yes.
that's beyond just
Yeah.
It's not just
traditional
prestige,
method.
but it's also, they'll learn that they can build this headache of a house that's gonna cost them bazillion dollars forever, or they can build this beautiful, green and efficient structure that's gonna be very efficient and, you know, save them money down the road.
So I wonder how many of these ultra contemporary homes that are being built
Yeah.
are being built in
There's
a
a lot of
green.
ultra contemporary, I
Yeah.
don't know how green they are.
Yeah,
But,
so
you know,
that's-
it'd
But
be
I'm sure
interesting to
Elon
find
Musk
out.
is building something pretty green.
I would think
I'm,
so.
I'm
He
sure.
better be, or
If
he's in
he's in,
deep
yeah.
trouble.
I'm not sure
Well,
exactly where
hopefully he
his
will
building
set,
site is
pave
at
the
this point,
road
but-
for. He might then pave the road for everybody else to lead.
Well, that's the thing,
In
you wanna
our
see the
town.
examples of people who are doing the
Mm.
cutting edge stuff, so I think that's where we should.
That
focus.
is
So you'd like
a
a
cool
garden tour, like
event.
a house tour?
Well,
Mm.
we've done house tours before. We at one point we planned a green building house
remember.
tour.
A long time ago.
Mm.
But I like the idea, and so maybe what you think in the spring, and
Oh, it's always in the spring. Yeah.
always in the spring.
Usually, you know, it's nice enough for you to
Yeah.
Mm.
enjoy seeing a garden that's in bloom as opposed to
The sad one.
wet, leafy, you know, that's
Muddy.
muddy, yeah.
Yeah.
So spring is actually the right time to do it.
So we could, from the staff, answer your question on how many LEED certified houses perhaps that we have and what those addresses are and narrow the focus and hopefully get, some concrete examples here within town. And my mind's just keep going, I'm just thinking out loud here and you know, worst case scenario, ping or outreach to some of the more green architectural firms that I know of, and if it has to be outside of Atherton, worst case scenario, we can at least present that.
Woodside,
Yeah.
Wichita Valley, we could do
Just
a
do
joint
it.
program with
Yeah.
those towns so that we get more people, more publicity. It doesn't have to be just
Here.
our homes in here, but we could open it to the community.
Yeah. Very cool.
Also, those architects will know which houses
Right.
they've done.
That would be
And also
Very
outreach
good.
to people, because not every really green home, like Ross's home, is extremely green, but it's not LEED certified. He did a lot in experimental mode
Yes.
early on, yeah.
Okay.
very cool. Good idea.
So are we on number 3 then?
Community choice. Oh, okay. Any comments on
Should have
measure
Rick
topic 3?
come give a presentation
Yeah.
on it. The CCA. I mean,
Yeah.
it's going. I mean,
It's a-
he's you know very very involved. Rick DeGoya, council
Mhm.
member. He's very involved in the CCA board and you know building this network and strategically looking at where to source all this green energy and everything. So he's excited about it, and I don't know what the statistics are in Atherton, how many of our residents have opted out or have, because you have to opt out. You're opted in automatically.
Mm.
My curiosity would be like there was a period where the PUC raised the rates and they were blaming the aggregate online. So it's like trying to turn the rate increase over. It's not like about it's not about the choice. It's about the PUC. That was a while back.
Oh. Well, we're really lucky that they didn't do what they did up in Marin when the first one, because they actively advertised and went against the green energy people. And remember that?
They spent $50 million.
Yeah, and then I think the court said that
Then
he
the
couldn't,
legislature put past restrictions.
that they couldn't do that,
To restrict their ability to do that.
advertise adversely against it. So anyway, so it's good. I think it's good.
Okay, so can we summarize on the discussion and on the first 3 priorities? So, in summary, it's the home energy analytics, and then potential for priority number 2, architects and showcases, and maybe with the town of Atherton to obtain one of the software for life cycle analysis for emission calculation on new constructions and updates as something to.
Can we add to that, not just the materials life cycle, but sort of like to include in the talks, not just information about how you build green and why, but the life cycle
Of
operating
yeah.
expenses
Operating,
of a home.
yes.
A holistic, if you're looking at owning a home for, let's say, 50 years and powering it for 50 years, what the life cycle differences are. So that's what these architects, I think, could actually speak to pretty well.
If I could, through the chair, then just reiterate what I'm hearing as staff, we should be reporting back to you as a committee on we'll get to the calendar, but presuming that there's a meeting in January 2018. The first thing I heard was creating some seasonal compilation marketing pieces that compile relative program information, both in English and Spanish is what I heard. And there was some discussion about possibly an ad hoc committee being created to work with staff on developing those. If that's the case, then we would like you to please appoint those 2 members so that we know who we're working with, and can start scheduling those meetings during regular hours at everyone's convenience so that we have something to report back to the committee as a whole in January.
Well, I would like to suggest the person who inspired the idea to lead.
Okay.
Would you mind?
No, I don't.
Okay, and then you choose a compatible person to work with if it's a 2-member ad hoc.
It doesn't have to be.
Mm-hmm.
It certainly doesn't have to be 2, but it cannot be more.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And
Do you
can
want
be
me to
only one.
work with you?
Yeah, it would be nice.
That'd be nice. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Great.
then
So
we
we'll
can-
follow up with
good.
committee member.
Yeah.
Okay,
Because rather
Joseph
than having
and,
staff just work in a
Louise.
vacuum,
Yeah.
we want.
And then it would be nice if, since you're from Puerto Rico, it would be great if you could check our work.
I can prove it.
Because you want it to be inviting, not just like naggy.
Yeah.
I know I've learned this. It's very interesting. My son goes to a specialized school, and there's 2 very different messages. In English, it's very fact-based. In Spanish, it's very emotionally appealed. When I read the
Friendly.
different messages, if they're written in Spanish, it appeals to your emotion, always. And if they're written in English, it always goes, did you know 1 out of 4? Did you? Well, it's like very different how you think about the same thing.
It's our Germanic.
Yeah, so I think we have to have a little bit of heart appeal based on what I'm reading, watching people. I have time to wait, so I'm like, I'll just, translate.
Okay, well, we will have a
Okay, sounds good.
good translation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, just to conclude, to make sure that we
yeah.
leave here with the appropriate direction and action items for the January meeting. So the second item being staff to try to compile a list of other LEED certified and or green buildings that are either under construction, almost completed, or have been completed within the last few years, as well as a list of, I think I would call them more environmentally experienced architectural firms, and outreaching to them if they have case examples, perhaps not just within Atherton, but within some of our neighboring jurisdictions. I would also like to ask the committee if you happen to know of any specific individuals. We're happy to outreach to them directly, or if you'd like to do that on your own, your contacts, or put them in contact with myself and Nestor, that would be greatly appreciated.
Okay.
So you mentioned there was call it an event or that happened years back that Atherton
Like a
hosted?
tour.
Like a tour,
A house tour?
Okay.
Yeah. I think Valerie put it together. I don't even know if we were under the EPC or not. Was it?
It was an early EPC event.
It was
Early.
It was
Early. 26.
It was
2006.
planned,
Yeah.
and it didn't happen. I don't think.
Oh, it did not.
Did not actually.
That's right.
changed
Okay.
none.
That's right.
But it was showcasing unique green building features at different locations. And there were several homes, and I believe we had almost everything lined up to showcase, from solar panels to geothermal to, heat pumps and passive heating and cooling and
They
things
did.
like that, so that we did it. But I think, going through a home and seeing all the features in a home or multiple homes, there's a little bit of the home tour aspect, which there's a lot of interest in, and there's more homes now that have been built that have those features. So I think I know personally like 4 or 5 green homes in that
I
area.
think that would be great, that would be really appreciated, because of course, at the end of the day, we can identify them, but we certainly would need the,
Their permission.
agreement
Permission.
by the
They
property
need to
owner.
be invited to be participating. You need to put together an event. So the idea of outreach to them with an idea or an explanation of what we're trying to do to help educate the community, and maybe have the house be open on a certain day for a tour that happens on a certain day, but then is followed up with maybe some talks or, presentations in the park by these architects, that, would be the kind of
Gotcha.
event that could,
Mhm.
I think, really interest people and inspire them.
I'm excited. I want to go
Outside
see.
of town.
Right,
People
and
will be excited to
you'd
come.
want to do enough outreach that
Yeah.
people who are considering buying or considering building or planning renovations, will know about it in advance, so.
And also maybe hitting the real estate community, I mean, there's a lot of folks that come in here.
Yeah, what did you do? There you are.
Oh.
Not me. I'm not a realtor.
All right, so that was the second to-do list that I heard, and then the third related to following and getting more information on the Sophie
Or
software,
any kind of life cycle analysis
Oh, any kind
software.
of website, okay.
I can provide a couple of names that are commonly used in
Okay.
just build or construction
Yeah,
industry,
send that on
but
to
they
her.
should be
I don't know anything about it.
Yes, if you
targeted
could- yeah,
towards
that'd be
commercial.
great,
I
and
mean,
then
towards
we can
residential.
look into it further
Yeah.
and contact those individuals.
Okay.
Very similar to what we did in Intel here.
Yeah, because that is a big problem in the field. Sometimes it's too late.
Mhm.
Sustainability comes too late into the picture,
Right.
and metrics come too late into the picture to be
Right, and
evaluated,
sometimes if
because
you-
they're not infused into the design plans.
Right, right. I remember for us, when we were getting ready to tear down the house, and, thinking, so maybe we could recycle some of this or do this, and it just trying to coordinate all that as the time kept coming when the bulldozer was coming,
Mm.
and I ran out of time. And what was the real value in it? Because it was a 1923 house. So.
Mm.
Some of it's interesting, like we use you have those people who come in for your windows, you have people who come in for your appliances,
Yeah.
and they just sort of take all the things out that they want.
Mm.
I don't know if you did that or not. That was interesting. You just saw like pieces of your house getting carted off.
Oh, how interesting.
But it's getting recycled. It's not going into the,
Dump.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
landfill.
most of it still.
Yeah,
Goes
there's still a
straight
lot of
into
it, and it
the
only
dump.
takes, the depressing part is it takes about 12 minutes, just like, and it's over.
Mhm.
And then they really scrape it up. But I mean, just that whole house comes down like
Mm.
less than 20.
Mm.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, that's an industry that is
Thank
still
God bless you. Okay.
going to
moving
be modernized, and it's construction, so
Thank you.
it's lagging. It's not automation or big data analytics. If there are no other recommendation or
I think
summaries
those are
to make,
pretty meaty to start with.
yeah.
To get those done.
Well, I think this is ambitious. Then I would move to the next item, which is item number 3, to discuss ideas for potential environmental sustainability community event for 2018. And there is actually a list that the town provided with maybe 5 different events that are being suggested. with the location, the theme of the event, and timing.
So just on that note, I don't have any more details to share with you beyond just the targeted season and what the general approach for the event would be.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to present that to you if, depending on where the conversation went, if you're looking at a monthly event, maybe now it's a home showcase event, something else. This is what the town is currently targeting to do, and if you felt it would get more bang for your buck, so to speak, to piggyback on any of these. If not, that would certainly be appropriate as well.
So you feel that spring would be the best time, Valerie, to do a home thing? For people to tour and think about it?
I can't imagine they want to do it in the winter. It would
Yeah,
take
but
too hard.
It's already
It's too
scheduling
late for that.
challenging, yeah.
So spring would be a good time. I mean, just, you know, that's when house tours are usually done. It's when people are looking at buying. It's when people usually start their building projects.
Right, and
Yeah.
that could be a part of the Earth Day event. I mean, if
We
it
could do-
lasts
we
for
could spend
more
our
than
energy
one
on-
day.
No, I think it'd
Or-
also be a good area to spend our energy on, because last year, I think the library did a lot of the event. It worked out well. We still had an Earth Day. There was still education for kids, but we can spend
No,
our
this
energy
is
on
for
it.
adults.
Yeah,
Education
no, this is just like
for,
it's still
grown-ups.
educating and outreach is what sort of our mandate on some level is.
And if you had the home showcase be its own entity, you could certainly utilize some of these as a really good time to have some strong marketing and advertisement for the home showcase, if that's what you'd be calling it.
So it'd be like around the farmer's market time.
So the list starts fall of 2017 or 18?
That would be fall of 2018, and obviously the next one, we had compiled this when we had the meeting scheduled for
Oh,
August.
okay.
July.
In July, yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a little antiquated, but there aren't any updates that I've received, but obviously the second item, the holiday fair, potentially, well, this month, tomorrow, is not.
It's
going
too
to be
soon,
happening.
yeah.
It's too soon,
Mhm.
so.
So we, you know, 18.
October, June, bike rodeo.
And if you,
This,
yeah, sorry, another thought I had, related to the last item of the music in the park during the summer. If you were going to have a follow-up, whether that be a lecture or a movie after the home showcase, perhaps you could link that in somehow to this music in the park event that would be happening, of course, in the park. I don't know how it would lay itself out, but again, just.
Well, I'd like to kind of step back. How many events do you think that we want to do in
It
a
takes
year?
a lot of energy to do one event wall. I would say
Yes.
do one event wall.
That's kind of what I think. And and I think we should kind of fold it into around the Earth Day event, but then integrate a student challenge.
If possible.
If
That's like a
possible.
whole other event though, really.
Well, yes, but I don't know, I'd like to talk about it a little bit.
Okay.
It seemed like everybody felt that we didn't have enough meat in last year's, or this year's earlier, because we didn't have the student challenge. And the reason we didn't have the student challenge, well, we
The
started
scheduling.
too late, and their scheduling. And so if we can really look at the calendar and either do, well, I think it would have to be done before, because once they then start graduating or leaving school, it can't be after their SATs, right?
Or
I
when
don't
we
know.
sit for SATs,
I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not that knowledgeable about high school schedules anymore.
So from what we heard from the schools
Last year.
last year, that the target, this year Earth Day, well, next year Earth Day will be on the 22nd, it's a Sunday, second to last Sunday of the month. And that typically will always be falling within our high school's midterm season. And now I guess they're, I don't recall it dance, but it's a social event as well. So So, I think that's going to just be an inevitable timing issue that we'd be
So
facing.
make it earlier in April, right?
Yeah, and plus, if we're such a small town, if you're gonna do an Earth Day event, it may not actually fall exactly on Earth Day, sadly,
Mhm.
because there will be bigger things, there'll be more things
Everywhere.
going on in other
Mhm.
communities as well.
Yeah.
You know, when we organized the Student Challenge a couple years back, there were a couple teachers who really, and it's not like I pulled strings, it was like it worked for them.
Mm.
And they incorporated into their classroom assignments, and it became something that the class could participate in, that because we were involved with some prizes and some judges and a whole nice venue, it was a wonderful experience for them that incorporated their class learning, and it worked. And we only had 2 teachers, but they each had full classes of kids who participated. So I think it might be better to talk to the teachers and say,
First,
when
yeah.
does it work
Yeah.
for you?
And
And
then
would you
figure
like
the
to
day,
do this
yeah.
again? Because I
The
think
other way
that
doesn't work.
kind of top-down imposing our schedule on them is not going to work. I think we saw that, and we had to keep moving. In fact, we moved the date 3 times to accommodate them because they wanted to do it, but they couldn't see doing it in this time or that time. So I'd say if we want to do a student challenge, which is a huge amount of work, that we should at least find out when those teachers, and likely other teachers, if they had had those dates, would have been able to plan for that as part of an assignment for the students. In Menlo School and other places would have probably liked to participate if the teachers had enough advance notice that they could tie it into their classwork already instead of putting out syllabuses that had other stuff, and then this was just adding to that. Let's tie it into the syllabus and say, we're gonna provide X, Y, and Z, a venue, judges, prizes. How can we work with you to bring environmental awareness?
So the other thing that happened is, I think Menlo Atherton High School ended up having their own student challenge for the Earth Day.
No, they
I
had
think
an
usually
Earth Day event. It wasn't their own student challenge. It was an
Oh.
Earth Day. They've been organizing an Earth Day. They actually have an Earth Day fair every year now.
Many high schools, or I think
Yeah.
most high schools
They're
have
all
their
all
own
adopting it.
yeah.
Yeah, because they need to.
So
and
maybe-
a huge
Kids really care about
sustainability
this.
events.
Yeah, kids
So-
do, yeah.
They care about it. So
Well,
So maybe
I
we
think
can
that
just
needs to
extend
evolve.
their own
Yeah, I
into
agree.
the park or into the town.
it might be nice to coordinate with them and say, can we support
Your already
yours
well-developed
or maybe
program.
can we get kids from different schools to collaborate on a date and bring more kids together?
That would be nice.
I mean,
You
if
could show
the
your work.
parents in the community saw how excited the kids were and what they were doing at the high school, I mean, even parents don't know what their kids are doing in high school. And we could bring the various high schools together and have a bigger event and attract more adults, that could be an educational thing for it.
okay.
And then the schools could actually do more of the work,
Mm.
because they're doing it anyway.
Yeah,
Exactly.
anyway.
Yeah.
So I just had a little side idea, and it may not mean anything, but I just want to verbalize it. Since we're doing this green, residential green building tour of our houses, what if we put out to the students to design the house of their dreams using energy efficient features? If they could come up with neat ideas or something for that. Is that too narrow of a focus?
It's not too narrow, but it's only encompassing one topic.
Yeah,
Because
that's right.
sustainability and environmental issues are much bigger than
Yeah.
just construction
It's
and
very
design.
architecturally oriented.
Yes,
Just
but
it is, yeah. Mhm.
but
But everybody
it can
lives
be
in a
one
house,
of the themes.
Mhm. Yeah. aware.
One of the
Anyway.
themes,
Okay.
and then maybe connecting with the showcase or the house or the
I mean,
host.
the creativity of the projects that we got, I thought was
They were
really
amazing.
Was
They-
amazing,
yeah.
and they came from
Amazing.
all directions, and kids were able to participate because they could,
Or many
connect to a
directions.
topic that was
Yes.
meaningful to whether it was
Yes.
organic food or it was rebuilding it.
Or
But you
uh,
gave them a lot of
Yeah, there was.
Guidance.
It was like 10
You did.
topics and then a general miscellaneous, anything that you think qualifies. So it
Your
was
teachers
pretty
had
much
help,
open.
right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, the teachers liked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the
They-
program you have, it's created, you had shared that
Yeah.
copy with us, so.
So it gives them an open door, basically, to just choose their topic. But those are clear topics that I think matter to this community. So, you know, in total, the kids come up with isn't something that will not be of interest to the community, so.
So then it sounds like that, to me, is a fourth, action item for our staff to report back to you in January, so you can develop your conversations if you're going to do an Earth Day event, or you're gonna do a student challenge, or whatever you're gonna call it, is to the when, after you obtain that
It's
feedback
really to
from
the
them.
when.
And hopefully there's some overlap and a consensus of a time frame. Presumably it would be before the actual Earth Day event of end of April 2018.
Yeah. Okay.
And then in January, let's assume that it's March, that everybody says, yes, we could get on board, or maybe even earlier in February, we have to be prepared to go ahead and, whether it's the existing program refined or creation of a new program, whatever the committee feels is appropriate.
So there is a new film that has just been released called The New Fire, which is very interesting for students, I think, because it showcases the young PhDs who are coming out and starting innovative entrepreneurial companies in advanced nuclear. So if there's any interest in doing a little event around a showcase on advanced clean energy strategies, it's a very exciting film, and I think it's interesting from a student's point of view to see young people who have gone into science, engineering, physics fields because of how much it can impact climate. So that might be something we can showcase. I actually, have had some conversations with the filmmaker, so the film is available if we want to show it almost
It's called
anytime.
The New Fire.
The New Fire.
New Fire.
The New Fire. It's like when the discovery of fire, how much it
Yeah.
changed the course of human existence. This is the new fire. It will change the course of human existence.
Interesting. Okay.
So to summarize, out of a list, we might focus on not more than 2 of these events and then do them rather well.
It
Or
doesn't
more-
have to be
yeah.
associated with any of these events. These were just presented so that you know there are other things going on, so we wanted
It's actually nice to know. I don't know what a bike rodeo is, but sounds intriguing.
Oh, speaking of bikes,
Yes.
Menlo Atherton finally installed huge bike racks there. It took about 6 years, but we won't go into that. And there's a lot, they're actually seeing many, many more students take up biking to school as opposed to, those racks being empty, they're full every single day. I think if we had something to do with helping them tune their bikes or, do repairs, those kids, and even provide bikes to kids who don't have bikes. People come to me and ask me, who can I
So-
donate a bike to? And I keep giving them to the school and they can use every single one.
The San Mateo County has a bike program and a Safe Routes to School program, as you know. And I heard a presentation by their director, and I think she did mention that they're doing a bike shop, not seminar, but activity for Menlo Atherton. That Menlo Atherton, out of all the other high schools in San Mateo County, they ride their bikes the most. But most other high schools, the kids want to drive because they're of the age, they want to drive and everything. But for whatever reason, it's because I think Menlo Atherton is drawing from such a large geographic area, and
They've run out of parking spots.
And
That's
they-
the reason.
yeah, too,
There's no more
exactly,
parking
yeah. Anyway, so I can connect with her because I think we can get some funding for that. I think
It would be
they're
really
even doing
fabulous to organize
Yeah.
kids who ride their bikes could drop it off when they get to school and say, my tires are flat, or my wheel is,
Let me,
not true, or,
yeah,
my gears are not working, and I'm having trouble, or, it could be training them to do it, or there could be somebody who's just doing it to help making.
Teaching them
Berkeley-
how to do it too.
yeah.
And
Berkeley
teachers-
has a very good program,
Yes.
and of course, UC Berkeley students are pretty much aware environmentally aware. So there's a program, the missing link, and that's for a bike, for repairing and helping out with the bike. So maybe I can look into.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna leave you all.
Link.
The calendar looks good. It's a nice meeting. Thank you,
And
Stephanie. Nice
so,
to meet
in
you,
the interest
Esther.
of time, then we would just need to summarize these events and then move to the confirming the next meeting, and I think then we will be done with it.
I
So,
I think I heard, just
Yeah,
to
there's-
provide you more
yeah.
information so you can continue the discussion
Okay.
on refining and finalizing an event or events.
events, yes. So, apart from this,
Yeah,
there's
we can
only
start first thing in January.
the confirmation of the next meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
We might finish. Right. Everyone have a happy Christmas.
Hey,
I don't see it. But
I'm
we're
sure.
gonna meet
Do they have
Yeah.
before that.
clubs? Remember the Wright brothers? Your belated father, he was a pilot.
What?
The Wright brothers, they were bicycle repairmen, right? And without the bicycle repairmen, we wouldn't have heavier than air flights, right? So do not underestimate
The power
any
of fixing your
the
bike.
power of fixing a bike, because it might.
Well, the importance of teaching kids how to do bike repair is, I
And-
think, an important thing, but helping them have bikes in good repair
Is
huge. When
creating
they
safety.
rely on them to get
Increasing-
to school is
yeah.
an important thing too. So I think those are two separate missions, but both are good. So,
There's no downside.
Okay, so once again, how we would help in this area?
Elizabeth said she was going to bring us more information.
Okay. Okay.
We can look into it as well. I'm just bugging on that right now.
So, Stephanie, can we summarize on the list of recommendations then that we might take next year as
Related to events.
events?
So I heard a house showcase
Mhm.
of green building practices,
Mhm.
potentially followed up by a separate event of either a lecture or movie viewing and or both, related to what folks saw on their site inspections or visits, I should say.
or maybe simultaneous talks,
Mhm.
like
Okay.
maybe in the backyard of one of the homes, you could have people all meet by 3 p.m. to talk about what they saw.
Okay.
I mean, that doesn't have to be a separate day.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think it'd be harder to do a separate day. to
Yeah,
get
it's
everyone
usually
back
better
out
to do
again.
everything on
As
one
one,
day.
yeah, as one event.
So if you have an open house for a certain hour, a certain number of hours, and at the end of the day, everybody could meet up at
Mm-hmm.
one location. It could be a house or it could be the town center, whatever.
Okay. So that was one. So then there was conversation related to an potentially independent student challenge for high schools.
I think just high
Just the high
schools, that
schools?
seems to
Okay.
be where you get the best response.
And you can have further conversation on the finite details of that after we, staff, report back to you in January, after our conversations with the high school teachers on a time frame that may work for everybody.
I think that's the only way we can do it.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't work, I don't think it's like worth shoving it into the calendar either, like if we can't find a date.
And then the third had to do with a potential movie viewing, whether it's
The new fire.
New Fire,
Don't we still have our budget from last time a little
doesn't
bit?
roll over.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh, that's so unfair.
It's with all budget.
I get it, it's use it or lose it
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so we'll still have our small
We're
amount.
gonna use a fair amount for the 27th. There was some money spent from that.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, there was some money spent for that, but at the
Yeah.
same time, we had money left over for potentially that film in that summer. So, it is over, so we
Yeah,
might have
anything-
time.
I mean, anything beyond the current budgeted fiscal year budget,
Mhm.
that will end in July, so we have to keep that in mind too, timing wise.
Oh,
Beyond
that's good to know.
5,000, that's currently
Up to
slated
July and not
budget,
beyond,
Up to
okay.
July. So if you thought of a movie post-July, presuming the council will run its budget approval course as it has been, which
Mhm.
has been around that 5,000-ish marker, then that could be two things in one year, but different fiscal years.
I see what you're saying. Okay, I get it.
Okay, so that is on the potential town events topic, and the last item is to review and approve our EPC meeting calendar for 2018, and there is a memo that was provided in the packet, and if you could briefly review the dates and let me know if this works for everyone, then we would approve it.
At the moment,
It's,
but fine.
The proposal follows the same
Yeah.
course that we have established now, which is the third Thursday of every other month, same time, same location.
Same time, same location, and I approve. Agree.
I so second.
Seems
So I
fine,
second.
yeah.
So the calendar is approved, and that's it. I would like to close the meeting and call it adjourned. Thanks.